In this video, I'm going to show you the top 3 sports cards to make money on right now while I'm speaking in late October. Specifically, I'm going to show you the top 3 vintage cards to make money on. And when I say vintage, I'm talking 1980 through 1999. Making money on cards in the 40s and 50s and 60s is a little bit trickier, and I'll explain. But if you don't know who I am, hi, my name is Eric Michael. I've sold over $5 million in sports cards pretty profitably, and in the past few years I started a coaching program teaching people how to make a side income with sports cards, because I truly do think it is the easiest, simplest, most realistic way to make an income on the side. Let's get into it. I'm going to go into my computer and show you the top 3 cards I'm buying right now, why, what you should pay, etc. Let's do it. As you can see right here, card number 1 is a 1996 SP base Kobe Bryant. If you don't know what I'm doing right now, I'm on an app called Market Movers that lets you see trends of cards, sales, data, etc. Now, I'm going to explain to you why, in my opinion, I think this is a good buy. So this is a graph of the past 365 days, and you can see this card has hovered. It's slightly gone up over time, just a little bit, but you can see it hovers around 206 and sales at 340, 300, 240. It goes up and down and up and down and up and down. Now, vintage cards, once again, when I say vintage, I'm talking 1980 through 1999. Some people consider it vintage, some people don't. I consider it vintage. I'm young, so it's vintage to me. Now, you can see this card, if you look at all data, right? This is actually crazy. This is a wild graph, but usually these cards slowly go up over time, but they go up like you see, right? Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, but it does slowly go up over time. So if you can get into this Kobe Bryant card for cheap, you could make some decent money on it. Now, right, we have this card going up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. Now, look at the last sale. The last sale is cheaper than really any other sale for about $190. Now, there's no guarantees here, but if you just look at recent trends and recent data, it went from 345, then back down to 260, then up to 300, then back down again to 280, then up again and down again and up again and down again. It goes up and down, up and down. Now, if this last sale did 190, why would this card not go back up in the future? Maybe it'll go back up in 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe 3 months. Who knows? But it's kind of similar to, let's say, go back a year ago and you bought this card at this low point. There just happened to be a low sale. I don't know why. It's the same card. They're all PSA 10s. Maybe they're colored a little bit differently, but they're all basically the same card. Why one sells for lower or higher? I have no idea. That's just how the market goes. But imagine you bought this card right here for $206 exactly a year ago. And you could see if you just waited a month, boom, look at that sale, $420. If you bought this card here for $206 and the last sale was $420 and you went to go and sell this card for $375, it would sell right away. These cards are super, super liquid. Now, all you're essentially doing, right, you're buying a card that you know is just going to go up and down in the future, and you're buying it while it's at its down, right? And what you want to do is use that last sale I'm showing you here at $190 to your advantage. You could just say to people, hey, the last sale did $190. I'll give you $175 or $180. Or in this specific example, I'd probably actually pay $190. Usually I like to try and pay a little bit under comps or recent sales, like 90%. But in this specific example, I'm just pretty confident in this card going back up. Just look at the data. And on this app, Market Movers, what you could do, so this is the card. I pulled it up right here. If you click this little money symbol, it'll bring you to eBay, and you can see all these cards on eBay, and you can go and message these people, offer, and try and get it for $175, $150, $180. And this is the most systematic way I have seen to make money with vintage cards, okay? So this is the first one, and I have an example to show you from my real life in a second. So this is card number 1, 1996 Kobe Bryant SP. Card number 2, and this is an interesting one. I like this card for some reason, is a 1997 Topps Chrome base Tony Gonzalez. If you don't know who Tony Gonzalez is, he's a Hall of Fame tight end. So, and he played for the Chiefs, and he played for the Falcons a little bit. Now, same example, right? This card is slowly going up in the past year, but right, it has its up, and it has its down, and it has its up, and it has its down. And where are we right now? Well, we're on the down, right? And if you go to eBay, just like I showed you, right? Click this little money symbol. It'll bring you to eBay. There's only a few of them on eBay, but like if you look here, let's go back to the graph. The last sale did 158. Okay. These guys are a little bit overpriced, but this guy might come down to 140, 145, 130. Maybe try to take him off of eBay because you could just use the last sale to your advantage. And right, you're smart enough because you're watching me explain this to you, where if you get into this card for here, maybe the next sale will be lower, maybe it'll be higher. Who knows? But based on data, I can tell you it goes up and down and up and down and up and down. And why wouldn't it go back up? I mean, there's no reason it shouldn't. Okay. And once again, there's no guarantees. This is not financial advice. I'm just giving you how I've made money in the past with sports cards. And this is a predictable way to make money with sports cards, especially older cards. I love this stuff. I love PSA 10s from the 80s and the 90s because they're super liquid. Like you go to a card show, you'll sell this stuff like crazy. People love this stuff. And usually cards from the 80s and 90s are considered the junk era and they're not worth much. But PSA 10s, because they were so hard to grade, you get a pretty good bang for your buck and they're pretty liquid. So, last one is, this one's a little bit more expensive. I added in a more expensive one, is this 1985 Topps Mark McGwire 1984 USA baseball team. So this card's a little bit more expensive. It sells for a decent amount of change here. And you can see, right, this card, this is a little bit higher risk in my opinion. But it got, right, like the Kobe Bryant, not really high risk. This one, a little bit higher risk. But you can see, right, it goes up and then down. And then up and then down. And then up and then back down. And we're at a down right now. The last sale did 2.83K. And in the past year, there were sales of 4K. There were sales of 3.28. Sales of 3.3. So, in my opinion, I don't see why in the next 365 days again, it wouldn't hit this high point. You tell me. I could be going crazy, but I've done this a bunch and it usually works for me. And, right, if you could get into this card of Mark McGwire, right, let's go to eBay and click this little money symbol. And, right, there's a bunch of these cards. And if you could, the last sale was 2.8K. If you can get into this card for 2.5, 2.6K, and based on this graph, right, we're looking at, why wouldn't it jump up above 3K in the next year? It should, and maybe it'll jump up in the next 2 weeks. Maybe it'll jump up in the next month or 5 months or 10 months. Who knows? But what you want to do is, with this vintage card strategy I'm trying to explain to you, is if you're buying one card a day and you're keeping it consistent, you'll have cards, you know, in a week go up, in a month go up, and every month every day, you'll be selling cards you bought months ago that are going up in value. And you could even take it a step farther. If you click this little bell on the Market Movers app, you can set a threshold and give yourself an alert that when this card sells for above, let's say $3,300, you can add this as an alert, and Market Movers will alert you when there's a sale of $3,300. So you keep buying these random vintage cards at low prices, like of Kobe and Allen Iverson and Dirk Nowitzki and Mark McGwire and Ricky Henderson and all these different cards, and you set these alerts, right? And you're getting into them cheap. And when you buy one, right, you set an alert just like I'm showing you now, and every day you'll be pinned with, oh, this card you bought for $120, it just sold for $160. Go and sell it. Or this card you bought for $500, the last one just did $650. Go and sell it. So you don't have to, right? Because it'd be impossible to keep up with every single sale of every single card if you're buying this rolling inventory, because it's not like you're buying the same card over and over again, right? Every day there's new vintage cards with low prices, and all we're doing is we're taking advantage of low sales. So hopefully that makes sense. And to kind of show you, so this is a great strategy, and I've taught it to a bunch of students, and it's worked out pretty well. However, you might be asking yourself, well, why don't I just do this with cards from the 50s and 60s? Because that's like the golden era of sports cards. So check this out. So let's take a card from the 50s. Let's do like a Roberto Clemente. I'm gonna tell you the problem with these cards, right? So let's what was his rookie year? Yeah, it was 55 Topps. Oh, Roberto Clemente, 1955 Topps. Let's try and pull this up. All right. Let's take like this PSA 4, for example. Now, if you look at this graph, you'll see it's kind of like the other vintage cards I was showing you, right? They go up and down, up and down, up and down. But check this out. I want to show you why like this is just harder to make money with these cards. So let me pull this up right here. So let's go to eBay and let's type in, let's look at this card on eBay. I'm going to show you something. Roberto Clemente PSA 4. This is the problem with these cards. So the problem is the grade doesn't tell the whole story. So like this card, for example, is a PSA 4 that's okay because the centering, people care a lot about the centering and the coloring with these cards. So for example, this left border is a lot bigger than the right border, and this PSA 4 is probably going to sell for less than one that's better centered, right? And you'll see this graph go up and down like I just showed you with the cards from the 80s and the 90s, but the problem is if there was a low sale, well, was this sale low because the market went down a little bit on the cards, which is what we want, or did it just sell for low because the last one that sold is just not in good condition because the coloring and the centering, as opposed to like with these cards, like a 1997 Topps Chrome PSA 10 Tony Gonzalez, for the most part, right, it's a PSA 10. They're all going to sell for the same. They're all in the same condition. However, PSA 4s of Roberto Clemente vary widely in condition. Some are better colored than others. Some are better centered than others. And it creates a lot of variance, and it's like an unknown variable. It's not an unknown variable. Like, you can get good at buying these cards, but it's just not something I'm trying to teach right here at the moment on this video. And you could really make good money if you understand, right, this one's better colored, this one has better centering, and you could take advantage of that. But I'm just showing you the strategy I'm explaining to you for these cards, like the 80s and the 90s cards. You have to look at it a step farther if you're buying cards like this and look into the card and look how the centering and coloring is and compare it to ones that sold higher. So it doesn't work the same way. There's an extra variable when it comes to cards that are not PSA 10s, these PSA 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s from like the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. Hopefully that makes sense. And the last card I want to show you a real life example to show you like this stuff actually works. So check this out. You'll see I have this card behind me. Let's pull this out. So this was about maybe 2 or 3 months ago while I'm speaking right now. I bought this card at a card show, and you can actually see me negotiate for it. And when I bought this card, if you look at this graph right here, I bought this card right around early September. And when I bought it, I saw this right here, what you're looking at, as the last sale for $117. This is the last sale. And I remember I was showing this to students in my program, and I said to the guy who had the card at the card show, he wanted $200, and I didn't think he would come down. I offered him $100, and he said he'll do $120. And we ended up flipping a coin for $100 or $110, and I lost. So I paid $110 for this card. But when I bought this card, right, I was deploying the same exact strategy I'm showing you right now. I saw there was a low sale, and I said to myself, well, if the last one did $117, why wouldn't it go back up to $160, $164? Because as you can see, based on the past year, it's just going up and down, up and down, up and down. So I bought this card right here for $110 in early September. And check this out, right? It popped back up. And look at the sales now. 160, 140, 138. And the last sale did 155. So I bought this card for 110. And is anyone going to pay me what the last sale was, 155? No, but I can go and sell this right away for about 145. I'm only making $30, but I'm making about 25% on my money in a month and a half. 2 months. And obviously this isn't going to change my life, $30, but the whole theory behind it is you're buying these cards every single day. And I just simply don't have the time at the moment to buy tons and tons of cards. If I did, I would have had 20 of these, but I don't have the time. But it's an amazing way to make 15, 20, 30% on your money in a short period of time. Obviously I can't promise you your results will be like this Randy Moss that made me 30% in, two months or whatever it was. But go on Wall Street and explain to someone that I'm making 20% on my money in a few months. They'll think you're crazy. They won't even believe you. It sounds like a scam, right? But this is a real life example of a card I bought a few months ago, or 2 months ago in early September. And you could see it made me 30% or whatever it is when I go and sell it. So it's a strategy that works. It's predictable. It's safe, right? This card of Randy Moss isn't going to go down as opposed to like holding a card of Victor Wembanyama. You don't know what the hell could happen. He could sprain his ankle and it could shoot down 50%. This card is never going to shoot down 50%. Over time, it's either going to stay the same or slowly go up. And if you get into it low, you're putting yourself in a good financial position, in my opinion. But hopefully that makes sense. And let's head back to the camera. Hopefully you enjoyed that mini training. And what I would say is I would not do this unless you had like 10 to 20 grand extra laying around, because this is a strategy that'll make you 15, 20, 25, 30% on your money every few months, which is fantastic. However, if you only have $1,000 laying around, I would not do this, because you have $1,000 today and you have $1,300 in a few months. It's not doing anything for you. If your budget's a little bit lower, or you really want to test the waters of sports cards and not sit around and wait for these cards to go up in value, I would watch my last video I just put out. It's a sports card training on eBay. It shows you how to buy and sell these modern cards, because if you're looking for a quick start, quick jump, make quick cash, that last training I just put out is what you'll want to watch. This training I put out is a little bit more advanced. This is for when you do the last training I just pointed you to, and you get good at that, and you have excess cash, and you have an extra 10, 20, 30 grand laying around in the bank. It's like, well, this money could sit in the bank. I could put it in a mutual fund that'll make me 10% a year, or I could put it in this that will probably make me more than a mutual fund. So this is like kind of like the next step after you get good at buying and grading and quick flipping, which is what I show you in the last video. But hopefully you like this stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment below. I try to respond to all my comments in a podcast I do twice a week and answer any of your guys' burning questions and just go over what I think is a good buy and just talk about life. The podcasts are a lot of fun. I enjoy them. But if you enjoyed this video, go watch that next one on the how to find these cards on eBay, modern cards, and make that quick money. But if you're watching this and you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.